We're all looking for the one, but did you find yourself first? Do you have a good relationship with you? Have you found you yet? That's the subject for today. Compatibility. The only way you can know if you're compatible with someone else is by knowing you, by knowing your values. So come take a walk with me through this video today and discover what compatibility really means. Find out why your ex is saying why you're not compatible. But before we go any further, guys, if you need help with your personal breakup situation, check the description for my details for one-to-one voice coaching, and I would be super appreciative if you could hit like and give me a subscribe. It will really help the channel out. So let's get into it. I think most of us have had that dreaded conversation about compatibility when your ex has said, I think we want different things. I think we should see different people. But the biggest thing that I see that comes up in my one-to-one coaching, and that's come up with myself in the past, is that people don't really understand what compatibility is. And I think the observations and the idea of compatibility is highly skewed. The longer a relationship goes on, the more maintenance it requires. Therefore, it will go a long way if you ensure that your foundations are solid, i.e. that you know that you're compatible. I'm assuming you have some level of compatibility with the person you're with right now, or with your ex. If you're having to try too hard to make yourself compatible at the expense of losing yourself, you have to be honest and say, this isn't for me. Sure, compatibility will greatly improve your chances of a long-term, healthy relationship, but do you know what compatibility is? Most people will answer that question with something like, we have the same sense of humor, we like the same things, they're always there for me. Guys, that's surface level stuff. That really isn't compatibility. Compatibility for me is made of two core things, and that's maturity and values. Now, you may disagree, and that's absolutely fine. But through my own experiences in relationships and coaching you guys on a one-to-one basis over the phone, this is what I see most people getting wrong. To quote Jay Shetty, if you haven't checked out his podcast, go and check it out. Have a relationship based on values, not mutual interest. Now, I have to shout out to my very good friend Zoe, who put me on to Jay Shetty, and I've been watching a lot of his podcasts recently, and he makes a lot of valid points. One of those key points is that your partner does not have to like your hobbies or interests. In fact, for me personally, I don't want a partner that likes all of my hobbies, because that's the stuff I do on my own for myself. That's the stuff I do away from a relationship. It's great if they take interest and support me and cheer me on. That's amazing, but I don't need them to get too involved. Having hobbies and interests that you both do separately is healthy, and then finding something new that you both can do together is also healthy. Therefore, it's important to make this distinction between liking mutual interest and having the same life values. So the first thing that you need to do, and anyone needs to do, you need to establish what your values are. And you need to spend some time on this. What I say about self-love and self-work, this is part of it. So you have to ask yourself, are you adventurous? Are you authentic? Are you empathic? Are you loyal? Do you demand honor or a sense of humor? Now, for me, sense of humor is a big one because, guys, I don't show it on here, but I have a dark and dirty sense of humor, and a lot of people can't handle it, and it's got me into trouble in the past. So I very much need a partner that can take my sense of humor and realize that I'm just joking, I'm just messing around, and she will give it back to me, because for me that is a core value. I cannot date someone who doesn't have a sense of humor, that doesn't see the funny in irony and doesn't see the funny in bad situations, because a lot of the time this is how we alleviate that situation. So you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Do you want someone that's religious? Do you want kids? And so on. And if these values are not aligning with the person that you're dating or your ex or a prospective partner, then you're already on shaky ground. The foundations are not there. And what can happen is that people start compromising themselves to the point where they're no longer themselves. They start adapting to their partner's values just to keep the relationship alive. And this is a one-way ticket to failure. Guys, just a quick edit. I realized while doing the final edit of this video that I mentioned at the start of this video that I said a sense of humor is surface level stuff. What I meant by that is that yes, a sense of humor can be a core value like it is for me, but it has to be reciprocated. It's not just enough for the other person to laugh at your jokes and they're not giving it back. That's what I meant by that. So apologies for the lack of context. I hope that clears up, and please enjoy the rest of the video. So just because your boyfriend or girlfriend or partner, they laugh at your jokes, you enjoy the same TV shows, and you have surface level mutual interest, doesn't mean you're compatible. So what I'm asking you guys to do is to come away from mutual interest. And some of the best women that I've dated, they haven't liked what I liked, but we had similar values, and the relationship was based on values, not on mutual interest. Sure, it's great if you can have one or two mutual interests and you've got something to talk about in that context, but you're going to very quickly run out of things to talk about if all you have is a mutual interest in something. So moving on to my second observation, which is maturity. And for me, compatibility is more about maturity than it is compatibility. So what is maturity in the context of a relationship? Again, to quote Jay Shetty, we're not telling our partners where we stand, and we don't know where we stand with the other person. All too often when I'm talking to you guys on the phone one-to-one and I am digging a little bit deeper, I'm asking questions about your relationship, and a lot of the time people say okay, we broke up for X, Y, and Z, we broke up because of this. And I will often ask, did you tell them you were feeling this way? Did you tell them what you wanted and what your expectations were and what your boundaries are? And often the answer to that is no. We, for some weird reason, we bottle up how we feel, only for it to come out a year later in an almighty nuclear explosion. Then we're like, oh, why didn't you tell me this before? I had no idea. And what's happening? People start to think when you're in a relationship, because it becomes normal and mundane, you start to think that this person can read your mind, that they should just know how you feel, right? No. Guys, this has caused so many breakdowns of so many relationships. If only the communication was there and the maturity was there for two people to have a conversation openly and honestly and saying, hey, I think the relationship is really good here, but here I think it needs work, without getting butthurt about it. Because my friends, if you don't have these regular conversations, well, good luck with that, because you'll be signing up for breakup coaching with me faster than your partner can say, I think we should see other people. It's a one-way ticket to a breakup. It's very important to have regular check-ins with your partner, not just talking about work or what your day was about. You need to learn to be vulnerable with each other. You need to learn to say, I don't feel great right now. Or you need to learn to say, you know what? I think we're in a good place right now. Or I don't think we're in a good place right now. Let's sit down and talk about it. Can we go to couples counseling? Can we read this book together? And it should be like a job review. Check in with each other once a month. Sit down. Give your relationship a health check. And it might just save your relationship, because you know where you stand with each other. It's okay to have constructive arguments. In fact, I encourage it. And I come across breakups a lot of time where they've broken up because they don't argue. Now, there's a balance to be had here. I'm not saying you should be arguing all the time about the same thing, and arguments can be very toxic if you don't get it right, but you don't have to shout and scream at each other. You need to get into a position where you are listening to understand. You're not listening to respond. So if your partner tells you something, repeat back to them. Okay, let me just make sure I've got this straight. Because I'm doing X, it's making you feel Y. Is that okay? Is that right? And then what you do, you make your partner feel like they've been heard. Okay? And then you can say, okay, I won't do X anymore because it's making you feel Y. I will do A, B, and C. If, of course, it doesn't violate your boundaries, if it doesn't compromise you to a point where you're no longer yourself. But there has to be some level of compromise. Give each other the freedom to work on your personal shortcomings. It's okay. Give each other space. You're not there to fix your partner, and they're not there to fix you. You should be working on what you've got to work on, and they should be working on what they've got to work on. That's maturity. That's maturity. It's not about trying to change each other. It's about growing, learning, and enhancing each other together. So many people stay exactly where they are on day one of the relationship. But relationships are a living, breathing, evolving thing. You either evolve with it or you get left behind. It's also very important to not change so dramatically for your partner to the point where you're no longer you. Your partner may say something very unreasonable like, I don't like your best friends, you need to stop seeing them. Okay, that is not okay. But if you stop seeing your friends to keep your relationship and your partner happy, you've compromised yourself so much that you're no longer being you and your relationship isn't worth a damn. That is an unreasonable demand from your partner. It's quite different compared to say that you will stop drinking so much to save money, improve your health and your mood. That's a reasonable request from your partner. However, the reality is that some relationships are just meant to end or were never meant to be, guys. We have to be real here, and I will always tell you the truth. A lot of you that I speak to, I have to say, you guys are just not compatible. Too many try to force compatibility. It's like trying to get Mac OS working on a Windows PC. Sure, you can get it to work, but it's going to be a shit experience. When a relationship ends due to incompatibility, be thankful for the memories, experiences, and use the experience to level up. And that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for listening. If you've liked the content, hit like and give me a subscribe. It would really help me out. I hope everybody's well, and as always, I'll see you on the other side.